All right. Hello. So, this update came out, and I've got some impressions of it. I got on Warframe. I was gonna just immediately start up the stream, but I was like, nah, you know what? I'll give it some rudimentary testing first and kind of give my first impressions of these changes. So I've popped them up here. I'm gonna give some impressions of these changes. And I'll be honest, this update is a mixed fucking bag. Very mixed. Let's just start off here. So, we have Mag first. Mag is dead. Mag is more dead than she has ever been, which is baffling because she was already super niche as best. At the very best, she was very niche for killing Corpus. That's over. That's done with. That's ended. Party's over. Don't bother. And she only there's nothing. Okay, so let's just go over this one by one. Pull, mostly the same. Pull has never been like a terrible ability. It's always been okay. Mostly in the early game, or if you need to I need to get that one guy off his feet real quick. It's always been okay. Like you might expect of most first abilities. They're fine. They don't cost a lot of energy. Very simple. So this has kills have a bonus chance of dropping energy. So there's that. The problem is that you're not going to kill enemies. That's not going to kill enemies past just baby nothing levels. It does nothing. Nothing happens whenever you do this ability in the later levels, even if you buff it with all this other shit. Nothing happens. Magnetize. It roots the target in place. First of all, no, it does not root them in place. It keeps them in the center and it will pull other enemies in. It does not root them in place. That's not true. That's a lie. Damage over time is dealt to all enemies within a set radius. This is pretty good. This is relatively strong. If you fire a Lex at the outside of this bubble, you do some damage to all the enemies in there. Pretty reasonable, honestly. Okay. So, the projectiles and, this shrapnel thing, the shrapnel doesn't matter. There's never gonna be, it doesn't add up against high-level enemies. It just doesn't. And that's kind of because of the next thing we're going to talk about, which is Polarize. But overall, Magnetize is okay. On the whole, it's fine. The rooting thing is a lie. But otherwise, Magnetize is okay. Problems, not recastable on the same enemy, so you can't keep it going. And it's not very large. So its base is, pretty tiny. And it doesn't stop Bombard Rockets. Bombard Rockets don't just get shot and absorbed. They go out of the bubble and then kind of curve back in like they were being magnetized in. So they're still super dangerous to you if you're kind of close. And super dangerous to all of your teammates still, of course. Which is not good. So you're not really, neutralizing Bombards anymore like you used to be whenever you were using Bullet Attractor. It would pretty much completely nullify Bombards. Doesn't do that anymore. So don't look forward to that. And now we have the worst, which is Polarize. So this ability does nothing. It does absolutely nothing. It does nothing. Not a damn thing was done. So it's not a percentage anymore. It's not a percentage that you can boost anymore to be really good and scale. It's not that, and it does nothing. It is completely terrible. There's nothing to be done here. At max power strength, you'll maybe, if you get really lucky, you'll take off an 80th of, a level 80 Corpus's shields. If you get really lucky, an 80th of it will be gone. It does, nothing. It does, nothing. Same goes for the armor. The armor stripping, as far as I can tell, you strip maybe 400 armor. At, really high strength, maybe 400 armor. Because the damage increase you get is minimal at best. Nothing. On enemies that are actually tough, level 100 Bombards and Gunners, I cast with Prime Flow until my energy was fucking gone at 180% power strength, still had armor. So that ability, that does nothing against armor. There's nothing to be done there. It's complete trash. That, and it's not in the huge area all at once, you have to wait for the wave. Wave, reasonable speed, but because the ability does fucking nothing, useless. Complete trash. Crush received basically no changes. It exists still. It's still an okay at best ability. So, good thing we got that. It's great. Sure, fine. Whatever. Mag is dead. There's no reason. There's no reason. There's literally no reason. This is the you killed Mag as a starter. And then what happened is it's like, no, let's just get rid of the whole Warframe. Like that thing where she's good against Corpus? Nah. Make her bad against everything. Let's do that. That's what it feels like. But let's get positive for a second here, because the Volt changes are really good. Volt is markedly better, I would say. So speed, reduced FOV. I'm not much of a fan of that, as I kind of prefer the higher FOVs, but that's really just a me thing. Not really a big deal. The opt-in seems okay, although coordinated parties are probably going to like it less, so you weigh that back and forth. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same as it always was. The Super Max Speed build still totally works. It's still super fun. Electric Shield changes. So Electric Shield, even if you're using the Max Speed Volt thing, you can still pick up the shield and move it short distances at not very much energy, even with negative efficiency, which is very, very nice. The drain on it is very acceptable. It's based on like the distance that you're moving, so you're incentivized to kind of take it slow and be very defensive with the shield, which makes a lot of sense. You can place it back down, you can move it, you can turn it. All that stuff is really great with the Electric Shield. Really nice. Charging it up with your 1, also pretty effective. Seems like it's got a very high chance of proccing electricity. Like, if it's not 100%, it's up there. So it's a reasonable, like, wall you can kind of just stun enemies with if you need to stop them up somewhere. Like, kind of as an addition, it's fine. And then being able to obviously pick up the shield that increases your crit damage and adds some bonus damage whenever you shoot through it is very nice. Really good overall. And then we have his 4th ability, which has been completely replaced, called Discharge now. This is actually really good. It works in a kind of similar way to a Naros' 4, except for you don't have to like charge it up with your health or anything, obviously. But it does, of course, cost more energy. You can build for some good range and duration to get actually a really nice stun in a like pretty reasonable area, where you can lock down enemies and just like lock down a really good like sector and just kind of go for it. That combined with the changes to Electric Shield, like all good stuff. You have like the ability to build a gimmicky but super fun speed build, and then also on the opposite side of that, a very control heavy defensive like shield and discharge build. It's quite good. It's honestly really fun to use, and is just nice overall. I've kind of no complaints about Volt's changes, honestly. Like his 4 is fast, it moves very quickly to stun the enemies. The damage from it is kind of meh, but it's a really hard, good stun, so the damage is not like as worrying to me at all. And on low-level enemies, it actually destroys them pretty fast when they're in large groups. So Volt's changes are fantastic. I think he can actually compete with Excalibur now, which is really good news. I only wish Mag had received similar changes, or was similarly good. Moving down here, we've got Mace's changes. So this is really unspecific, and it's Mace's Peacemaker now scales with secondary weapon mods. To accommodate the increase in power, Peacemaker's base stats have been reduced. So, I'm not sure exactly what the base stats are now, but I can say, used with my Lex and my Static Core builds, this is very good. It does good damage. You can like take down tough enemies in a very good amount of time. Couple that with the shooting gallery changes, you have your 2 and your 3 that are very reliable abilities now. Your 1, I would still prefer if the cap was going on that, so you could like pull up a bunch of damage whenever you need it on single targets. But you do a lot of damage with your 4 now, or like a very good amount. You still have the shrinking circle, which is still acceptable at this damage. And the only thing I would like maybe have also done to Peacemaker was maybe lower its energy cost per second by like maybe 3 energy. Other than that, like, great changes to Mesa, bringing her up to the point where she is very useful and good, but not, like, the broken point where she was before to be used in farming in, like, 360. So that stuff's really good. Mirage changes. I'm actually really happy with all of these changes, except, with the exception of Sleight of Hand. Sleight of Hand is still bad. Like, it's still a bad ability. It just has always kind of just been a bad ability. I wish it got just replaced, honestly, and like given something that can compete with Mirage's like 1 and her 3. Prism's nerf to be line of sight, but they increase the damage of Prism. That is... okay, so it's a nerf, and I wish that they had increased how fast you cast it instead of the damage, to make it a little more active, rather than the slowness that it is right now. It's one of the slowest abilities in the game, if not the slowest. So you could kind of be more active with it and like kind of like just throw it into rooms and use it that way. But other than that, Mirage is still in a good place because her 1 and her 3 are very strong. You can still use her 4 to blind if you really need to, which is strong against lots of different enemies. Mirage overall is still going to be fine, but she's lost her place as, like, this is the crowd control that you use to lock shit down. She's not going to be that anymore, and I'm actually really okay with that. Valkyr changes. So these are the changes I was most worried about because Valkyr is my favorite fucking Warframe. Obviously, I'd be worried about them. All of this stuff is actually really good. The visual changes to the distance, where enemies can be standing, that you get the damage, where you have to like go and hide to turn off Hysteria and like re-up it and stuff. The visual changes to that are really, really good. They appear to work well. I didn't test it with super high values of damage incoming, so it appeared like I was taking no damage whenever I felt like I should be taking no damage, like when recasting Hysteria. So that stuff all feels good. The damage on Hysteria wasn't changed. It's still very nice. The energy drain ramp up feels totally reasonable and is still a downside that makes you pay more attention to your energy and manage it more, while still being a downside. Like, you can definitely feel that the energy is draining more and you've got to pay a little more attention to it, which is good. And then besides that, the thing I forgot to mention actually, with the discharge like coming into you as damage when there are enemies around you, that makes nullifiers like way more dangerous. If you build up a lot of damage that you've taken in and then you get nullified, you're dead. You're gonna die, which is actually fine. It makes them way more dangerous to her. Before, you could kind of just like walk it off and recast Hysteria right where you're standing, which didn't really feel like as much of a punishment as maybe a nullifier should be on Valkyr. It's really good. It's good changes. I actually like them. Following changes that I actually like, Excalibur's changes. Excalibur is also one of the Warframes that I use a lot, and I was a bit worried about this. The only thing that I feel here is maybe a bit overkill is the sliding radial blind, costing energy. It doesn't really seem like that was necessary, and it makes me feel like that radial blind should maybe be like an alt fire of Exalted Blade as opposed to the slide attack, because I do like using slide attacks, and it costing extra energy is kind of like, I want to avoid doing slide attacks now and instead just press my 2. The range fall off feels very reasonable. You get like the scale down of damage. It's mostly in like the last 10 meters of the ability where you can really tell that the fall off is happening. Before then, it just incentivizes you to use your blind more to get the higher damage that you're looking for on enemies, and otherwise get closer to deal your full damage. All of those things make sense. There's nothing that I have found to be wrong with that. Trinity. Okay, so Blessing is dead. Blessing is a dead ability. It is dead on arrival with this. It's nothing. It's not anything. So, it would be something still, with a little itty bitty change. And that's making it so that the resistance is at 50 meters, but the heal is still, like, global. That's what should probably be there, but as it stands right now, you don't have the resistance. You're not getting like in raid territory and like full groups, you're not getting like even 90% resistance, not even close. Like, the values that you're getting are they're not high, they're very low. With a full party by yourself, you can still get to 99%, which I guess is something, but by yourself is not what Trinity is made to be. And with a partner, you can kind of get 90-ish% if you're doing it in a certain way. But basically, outside of super coordinated parties, where a bunch of people have glaives and they can damage themselves, Blessing is over. It's super done. There's no reason to be Blessing Trin over Eevee anymore. There's just no advantage to it anymore. I really wish we had only seen it go from 99% to maybe a cap of 90%. I think that would be probably a little more reasonable. Like, maybe even slightly lower than that if it was just more consistent and still global. Because as it stands now, like, it's just Eevee now. And Eevee is, while it's good, it's not Blessing. Like, it's not that kind of support. Yeah, really rough overall for Trinity and Mag. Trinity and Mag are having a time of it. Luckily for Trinity, Eevee is still a good thing. She's definitely out of S rank now because she lost one of her main big builds, but yeah, Mag is for real super dead, like just dirt in ground. like buried, gone, it's over. Trinity, the Blessing build is done. It's done skis. You're not getting that one back, I don't think. Which is really unfortunate, because I would have liked to see it still be usable. Moving on, we've got passives. So, Ash's passive is more damage, basically. That's good. I mean, it's a good passive to have more damage, turns out. It's fine. Not a big deal there. Banshee, all weapons are treated as silent. This affects your group survivability in kind of an indirect way. I've talked about it before. It's actually a really good passive for Banshee. I like it a lot. Gives her some extra things that she can do with her weapons in some cases. Ember, receiving a heat status effect will regenerate energy, blah, blah, blah. Useless. This does nothing. If you're planning on taking damage, like, don't do that. That's bad. Don't plan on taking damage. The only time that's ever been worth it was Bless, and that's gone now. So Ember, yeah, this is a useless passive. Complete garbage. Hydroid, this passive is total dog shit. Like, another passive that reads as does nothing. Limbo, this passive, honestly, if this was while just always, I actually would be totally fine with it. Like, if it was just sleight of hand or whatever, something, and you holstered things and reloaded faster, just in general, I'd be like, you know what? Not bad. Because it's only when you're in the Rift, even though that is Limbo's main gimmick, kind of not really doing much. When you're in the Rift, you have time to do all these things, so it's kind of whatever. Loki, 10x walkling duration. So, this is really lenient. It's really good for the puzzles and stuff. Because it's not infinite and it's only 10x, it means you can't do some weird AFK thing with wall clinging, which is nice. Mag, dog shit passive, like literal dog shit because Carrier exists, and this passive is a just slap in the face reminder that we're not gonna fucking get Carrier's Vacuum as just a general passive for all Warframes and quality improvement to the game, which is just really shitty. Just absolutely terrible. Just terrible. Just for real garbage. Like, it is so mind-numbingly disappointing that that is what Mag's fucking passive is. It's... like, that should be... like, we should all have Vacuum. Like, that's a different discussion, I guess. But it's just a fucking... it's just the worst. Anyway... Necros, enemy death within 10 meters of Necros regenerates 5 health. I mean, this passive exists. There's not really, like, a thing that Necros does where, like, I mean, with Shield of Shadows build, maybe this is something, but not really, because 10 meters is not that far. At the same time, it's not awful, and it's a mildly useful passive. I'll give it a pass. It's fine. Nova... Nova's is fine. It's a smaller radius than I thought it might be, but it's fine overall. Nyx's. Nyx really wants to be Loki, and Loki is the best of both worlds still. This will not change. This is a whatever passive. Like, this is a passive that reads use Loki, so whatever, I guess. Oberon, this is total dog shit. Wildlife are not helpful. They already fight Grineer and shit whenever... it doesn't even matter that they fight Grineer, period. They could do nothing, and it would be whatever. This makes it so you don't get killed by Heka and stuff, but that's so nothing. It's just a non-existent passive, essentially. Trinity, revive fallen allies faster from further away. Well, Bless just got nerfed, so your allies will be more likely to die, so it's a pretty good passive. It fits her. It's not bad. It's, like, honestly probably one of the better ones on this list. Vauban, other Warframes within 20 meters give you 25% bonus armor. Complete and utter dog shit. Don't know why that exists. Couldn't fucking tell you. I have no idea. Volt, physical ground travel distance between attacks causes bonus electric damage on next attack. So this stacks up to 1,000, and appears to be kind of buggy right now. It stacks up to 1,000, and you release it on your next attack. It is there. It's okay. I wish it didn't have a cap so you could do some really weird stuff with it. That'd be super fun. But otherwise, it's kind of just more damage while you're walking around, even if it's very minor. It's fine. Kind of whatever. The interception changes down here. Interception changes right here. These, not sure how these are working yet, besides the Tenno Affinity Aura indicator. that stuff is actually really nice because it tells you whenever you're all close enough together to be sharing affinity with each other, which is a really nice thing to have. And it appears like the radius is very generous. I always had kind of like a sense of how far away it was, but now it is quite nice. Interception missions will no longer apply an affinity radius multiplier. So with that, okay, so I'm not sure if that means that people can be farther away and still share, and that's not happening anymore. I wasn't sure if that's what was going on in Interception, and I'm not 100% sure how that affects Draco, but it doesn't appear to have much, like, that's just bad here. It appears to just be, like, a nice thing on your HUD, and it appears to be good. It appears to just be, this is like a good change. You can see when you're sharing affinity. Seems nice. And then some minor things down here and changes, like there's some like name changes for things and stuff. One of the nice things though is if you're an Aros, the devouring enemy can only be killed by you. Very useful for Anaroses that are trying to get their health back, because often like just killing the enemy that an Aros is trying to devour would be shitty for him. So that's a nice thing for an Aros to have. Otherwise, these are just some kind of general changes that don't really matter a whole lot. Yeah, like these name changes and stuff, they're just good for clarity, really. But yeah. Overall, it's a super mixed bag. It's a super mixed bag because it feels like they didn't even try and keep Bless in the game, really, or like properly test how it will kind of go in a raid, and like what is a level where this is good. Like if you're in an 8-player raid and you have this equation, what should the Trinity be kicking out for the party? For me, I think it would be reasonable if you're averaging that out, like what's going to be usual, say about 60%. 60% damage resistance across 8 people, that's pretty solid. That's actually pretty good, relatively worth it. It makes you pretty hard to kill for those enemies in general. And then like the smaller your party gets, the higher your resistance goes up. And then depending on the health, there's some way to get to a middle ground where Bless isn't fucked up broken like it was, and can still be a good build. And I'm not 100% sure where that lies, but it's definitely not here, because now it's just dead. Yeah, and Mag is in the ground. Otherwise, all these changes are great for the game, I think. Like Mag, like just please look at it again. I guess, guys. That's all I can say, is that like this rework, like playing it for the short amount of time I did, it feels worse than Saren's rework, which was not great, and that's just no good. It's just like if you compare across like Mag compared to Volt, and you like look at Volt and you look at Mag, like Volt has so much more going on. And that, like, Volt and Excal have so much more to them. They're bringing so much more to the table compared to Mag's nothing. And it's really, really disappointing. But yeah, this has been, like, a weird, ranty update review type video. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I just felt like saying what my first impressions were of this thing, because it's something. If you're seeing this video, though, I'm going to release this whenever the stream starts up, so come hang out. And if you feel like I was wrong on any of these points, feel free to let me know why. Because if there's something I'm missing with Mag, I would absolutely love to know what it is, because I did so many different things to try and get it to do something, and it just didn't. And it's very, very sad for me, as someone who wants Mag to be good, wants all Warframes to be good. But yeah, that's this video. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.